Hey, welcome to the Scene 757, locals only. We are coming to you from the Back Bay Brewhouse Beach House down in Virginia Beach.
Yes.
Tell us about that.
Right on Norfolk Avenue, a great place for craft beer and live music here, folks. In case you didn't know, they got shows going on during the weekend. Acoustic and full band up here where we're broadcasting live from at the private event space, which the private event space is also for rent for parties, birthdays, or mitzvahs, dog shows, anything else you want to do.
Dog shows?
I don't know, why not?
All right.
Okay.
How about cats?
Cat,
Wow.
whatever.
All right.
But
Well, thanks for joining us tonight. So we'll be right back.
it's funny, it never comes through. It never comes through.
And
Hey,
oh my goodness,
here we
already?
are. I love it. I love
Well,
it.
tonight we're doing it a little different. We already had our guests on stage here, kind of because of our setup tonight, because we don't normally have three out of a band, which is awesome. I'm so glad we have a trio tonight.
Yes.
We have Spirit Gun with us.
Yes.
So
Excited.
yes, we don't know them at all, which is amazing and awesome. We're getting to know them a little bit, and we hope that you guys go out and check them out. So we have lots of questions for them because we don't know them. So go ahead, Brian.
It's going to be really, yes, it's going to be a really fun interview
know.
here. And, I kind of don't know where to start, but other than let's of all things, the quote unquote genre or style in which they produce original music, play live music, in which we would call it.
Rock, roll, soul.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's
a term that he coined.
okay.
Yeah, we kind of have like, I'm kind of the punk rock dude. He's kind of the soul dude. He's kind of the rock and roll dude.
Ah.
He's a
So,
grunge dude.
That's so cool.
yeah, so
I'm all over the place.
We all are.
I'm
Yeah.
like metal, mainly metal and punk.
It's a pinata.
I was getting, it's funny, we'll talk about the punk thing in a minute because I heard it in that song
I did.
page. But back to the band itself, the members, you guys,
Yeah.
to my direct right, we have
Pete Overstreet, vocals and guitar.
Rick
Orrin Lev, drummer, backup vocals.
and
Tony Burgess, bass and vocals.
Awesome.
our trio, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
they have been on the scene now as a band for about how long have you guys been playing
Yeah.
shows around?
I kickstarted this around 2012.
Okay.
But not this incarnation. So I was,
Right.
I was about to say,
There's
don't
many-
go
there's many
all the way back.
incarnations.
Yeah, we've
Well, I mean-
only been a band maybe about a year.
Oh.
Like,
with
altogether.
Tony.
With me.
Yeah.
Oh.
I came into the project maybe like
2017.
17, 18,
Yeah,
somewhere
okay,
there.
okay.
And then we were starting to get it rolling with our other bass player. And then this thing called the pandemic hit. And
Oh, remember that?
yeah, we had to cancel.
Yeah.
We had our first EP out. We had shows booked out of town. We were like, and it just all faded away. So then, Steven, our bass player, wanted to leave during the pandemic. And we're like, okay, cool. And so then we didn't know what to do. And then he found Tony, thank God.
And how cool is that?
That
Back
is
to
cool.
running with the vision still that you had.
Well, I mean, like, it was a lot of false starts. You know what I mean? It didn't mean that I didn't learn from those other versions. But when this guy came in, it came into what is supposed to be. And when Tony came in, so there's a lot of synergy that's happened, especially in the past, 2 years?
Almost 2 years.
Almost 2 years.
2 years. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Seems like longer. It's like he fit right in from day one. It's pretty crazy.
Yeah, it was.
Wow.
Yeah, it was incredible. It's like how we were able to gel, even with filling in somebody.
So how did you find?
Yeah, just out of
Well,
curiosity, how did you find
How'd you do it?
Our former bass player, Steven, he decided he wanted to go to the Army. And we tried people out, and we would do learn 4 songs. And I guess people felt like they wanted to be like Steven. We were like, don't match his energy, bring your own. And it wasn't working out. It was getting kind of
It was depressing.
it was
We
hard.
auditioned a lot of guys. We could barely get through one song. It was rough. Sorry.
So late at night one night, I'm just going around on Facebook. Tony was running an open mic night. Where were you running it at?
I was at Stellar Wine in downtown Portsmouth is no longer, rest in peace, rest in peace, no longer in operation. And yeah, he reached out to me, and it was kind of like, at the time, I was going through a lot. I was going through some things with family and other things like that, and I wasn't sure. I was like, "This guy sounds great."
Now, did he reach out and you play bass, or he reached out like, "Hey, I'm gonna come to the open mic and play for you"? Or
It's just he was looking to see if I play bass. I think he was more attracted to me with my Misfits shirt.
Well, that's what I was gonna say. So I noticed that his birthday is in November, so he posted a thing for his 40th birthday.
Yeah.
I was like, who's this guy? So I looked him up, and I saw this dude, this guy, in a Misfits t-shirt, chucks, and a bass, and I was like, that's my bass player.
there you go. There you go.
And I
Sometimes the
reached
shirt
out
will
to
do it. The t-shirt did it.
He kept telling me, like,
Yeah.
we kept bringing in all these guys, and it was just depressing. And he kept telling me, he's like, there's this guy, Tony. I'm telling you, this guy, Tony, he's the guy. He's the guy. And so then they kept.
Okay.
Yeah. So Tony was so it was like a natural fit. I mean, it's like from day one. It sounds like.
So, like, we had a Google Drive with like 20 songs on it, and we had every song, just the bass line, no bass line, and the whole song. And this is what we were sending to every bass player. And we were like, learn 4 songs. We don't care what 4 songs, learn 4 songs, come in. He learned 4 songs. We jammed through them, and then we're like, oh, wait, did you know this one? He's like, no, not really. Does it go like this? And he played it. We're like, yeah.
So they say. Learn 4 songs. And they threw the kitchen sink at me.
I think at the end of that first practice, we ran through like 10 or 12 songs.
Yeah.
We were so starved for that getting back to things. We already had the pandemic kick us in the teeth.
Right.
Steven leaving was, it's just part of life. You want to do something. So we were longing for that, and we were just kind of like, hey, let's just go. We just wanted to have a full practice.
Okay.
And he said, he held it. So
Gotcha.
it was a
Yeah,
good
yeah.
sign.
I think sonically too, like everything worked out within the 3 of us. 'Cause I mean, with the pandemic, with these guys, what I was coming through. In fact, the first practice was in the beginning of 2022. I think it was January when we actually practiced together.
Okay.
As a unit. Yeah.
Yeah, we talked in November 21.
Yeah, 2021.
Yeah.
And I think after that was a perfect time for us to come together because it was after the smoke. Of everything.
Yeah.
That's how I kind of see it as.
And as you know, of course, what happened? Clubs shut down. I mean, well, everything shut down. Of course, but if you made your living like I did, playing music, you were lucky to get a gig at a place that had an outdoor venue where you could play a few hours and then have it all go home. And starting a band at that time was like a bad idea.
We were on our way. We had our first EP, which is New Eyes,
Okay.
which has the original version of Restless on there, Gypsy, and a really long song we have called Jenny Walker. And we had the bunker lined up for the EP release.
Okay.
In Virginia Beach.
In Virginia Beach. We were gonna
Yep.
play Fredericksburg, we were gonna play Harrisonburg.
Harrisonburg, Richmond. We had a bunch of weekenders lined up.
Yeah.
And it's funny, we still have the flyer for our EP release show. The date of that show was like March 20th, 2020. So that's that's like prime, everything's closing.
Right.
Yeah.
That was right there.
Yeah. So it was, and then it was just all, and then we didn't even we didn't even get together for months, like in the same room. It was crazy. Cause he had a house full of people. I had a house full of people this was before the vaccine. So, it was just it was a lot of, messaging back and forth. Hey, I got a song idea. Yeah, I got a song idea. Like, make a demo, do something.
It definitely brought on a lot of creativity, a lot of things, man, a lot of good and bad. But it was like, I think it was time for a lot of people to be creative. A lot of guys I know out there who wrote a ton of music and stuff to cope with it.
Yeah.
How about you guys? You had already written a bunch of stuff?
Well, we definitely had a decent amount of songs in the can, but we had penned a newer song called Stasis, which is about the pandemic.
Okay.
And that was kind of one of the things that we were all separately working on when that whole thing had started.
Mm.
You know?
And then it seemed like when Tony came in too, it was a real productive time. Like, we were like, oh crap, we were dusting off old songs, we were writing
Right.
new songs, we were working on riffs. It was everything was just started moving.
Okay.
We wanted him to come in and feel like he could kind of like do what he wanted to and have breathing room and not feel like, we wanted him to be able to be himself and just come in like these were his songs too.
He wasn't the replacement bass player,
Right.
he was the
Yeah.
bass player.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And
I wasn't, it was like one of those things. It's like, okay, what, do I do this or do I do the same as he does? Not really. It's just, okay, figure out the structure and then
Sure.
play
Structure
on it
form,
because-
right.
Because
And now you take ownership your way.
yeah, exactly. Because everybody plays different. Everybody has a different style. Everybody has a different way of how they play a song or learn a song. I mean, I'm completely different from what these guys do. From
Right.
What you play.
Right.
I may play a certain way where it's like it's completely opposite.
Yeah.
Everybody. That's how it is. That's the beauty of it.
yeah, you can both play a C chord, but you're playing it totally different.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's the beauty. That's the beauty of it.
Yeah.
It's all a learning, the way of how we learn how to, communicate and how we
Sure.
jam out or
Sure.
how so to speak.
Right. And how it all works.
Yeah.
You can play with someone that's like a virtuoso, but then you can have zero chemistry.
Yeah.
And I would rather be with someone that can play just 3 notes but have all the chemistry in the world.
That's what
Very well
counts.
put.
You can
Yeah.
go, you can expand from that.
I've always said
Yeah.
I don't want the dude who can play the best. I want the dude who can rock. Doesn't mean he has to be a virtuoso, but I also need to be able to like him for 4 hours in the band.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like if
Yeah.
he's the greatest,
That's the truth.
if
Gonna
he's
break
the
bread with
greatest
this guy,
dude
right.
ever on stage, but I can't stand him, what am I doing?
Yeah, and that was
Yeah.
the test. That was the second test. But the first test was like, okay, gelling with Pete because me and him were talking over the phone.
Yeah, you guys talked for a long
Yeah,
time.
It's
before
kind of
I
like
came in.
dating, you know.
Courtship had started.
Yeah, and I'm glad he did reach out to me because, like I was saying earlier, I was going through some things, and I wasn't sure. Like, I don't know.
Well, how
But
did he know you? I don't mean to interrupt, but how did he know you played bass? I'm just curious, like
I
how
think
that all
probably
started.
just seeing on a picture.
The photo.
So the photo.
Yeah.
You never heard him play,
Misfit
but you
shirt.
never heard
Yeah,
him play.
no,
And then my,
we didn't hear him play, but he was
Intuition.
like, "That's
You
my
might
guy."
have seen the video.
spiritual
yeah.
guidance was like, this is your guy.
Yeah.
I love it.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
great.
I love it.
And then,
So-
but with him, I think that was the second test. I was like, okay, I don't know who this guy is. He's the drummer. We have to gel.
Without
Yeah.
right.
Because we're a part of the rhythm section. That's the most important.
Yeah.
Because at this point, to speak for this guy, I think he was like, hey, I'm going to get Tony coming over. All right, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, at this point, I was burned by bass players. I was just like, all
I
right,
didn't know what to
fine.
expect.
Yeah.
Because he had this like, he was just like, hey,
Yeah.
I was like,
All right.
I didn't want to be all bubbly on the first day. In case I didn't want my heart broken in case you weren't the guy.
It's cool.
Right.
Listen to some Thin Lizzy in the car on your way over here.
That's
we
nice.
do.
It's funny you say that because if you're just like a disappointment, it's almost like a first date or
Basically, yeah.
a blind date, if you will.
Yeah.
And you don't know, and then you find out things in time that you don't want to know.
I mean, it is what it
We've all
is.
been there.
We've all been there, yeah.
We've all
Yeah.
been there.
Yeah.
Habits and mishabits and misfortunes, and anyway.
Yeah.
How cool is that, man? It really seems like a great spirit. By the way, I watched Betty Page, the video for Betty Page. If you guys haven't seen it, check out some of their live stuff on Scandals. Which, by the way, we'll talk about some of the live venues that support you guys. But the Scandals, shout out to them and what they do. A lot of high energy out of everybody on stage.
Yeah. It was
And
good.
musicianship, and I caught like the punk vibe when I listened to Betty Page. I was catching, is it metal, punk, soul? Yeah, right. It's kind of like a fusion of
Or like post-punk, maybe.
post.
Like that early Cure stuff, like the early,
Oh yeah.
like a
I like
Forest
Did
and all.
you get to go see them?
No.
No,
Not
man,
this
But
you
year.
many
either.
friends I have.
So sad.
I saw them almost 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Up in Maryland.
Oh.
With, Interpol.
No,
That was
I love them.
a fun show. It was awesome.
So we do have an audience members out there, and there is a question for you guys. What is the most memorable thing that has happened during one of your shows?
When we played Elevation 27.
Oh yeah, that was which? Are you talking about the Plot New show?
Yes.
Oh yes, that was awesome.
it's called the What Should Plot and You.
There was a band called The Plot New, I think.
Kind of a heavier band,
Yeah.
post-hardcore band.
Yeah.
They,
It was their show. We were one of the openers, and it was just like we played to packed houses and a lot of people, and that was a packed house. I have never seen.
It was like like
Like-
100 people.
It was
Wow.
some
It just-
Gen Z kids
Elevation
too.
Oh, at Elevation.
Elevation, it was
You know?
packed all the way to the back, and like
Yeah.
they were digging it. You know, that was the thing. I was like, yeah, we're gonna play our set. Some of them will like it, some not. You know, Captain Hype Man over here
Yeah,
gets
Hype
them
Man.
hyped from the beginning, and they were with us.
I had
the
an
whole
out
time.
of body experience. Like seeing all those people, like it was just like I don't know.
Energy.
Is there a mosh
Feedback.
pit involved or no? Do you guys ever have mosh
I think there was
things?
Oh yeah. We've had
Okay.
with one of the songs we do. It's usually our closer. It's called Status Quo, and it's a rocker. It starts out with just the kick drum, and then it builds up. But like it builds up and breaks down, and builds up and breaks down,
Nice
and like
dynamics.
we usually end the night with it, and you know people are losing their mind by the time we do that. So like we've definitely had some people going crazy.
Even my
with that.
mom watched to it.
Oh my God, we have a
Okay,
video.
Mom, are you watching?
We have
I don't know.
video.
Oh, we do have a video
Yeah, we do.
We do have a video.
I think we posted it on.
Yeah,
on
of his
the-
mom at
yeah.
a Scandal show, like up front, like going crazy. It's awesome.
Yeah, mom's in her 70s, just jamming.
Hey.
Being a Scandals and Elevation, the Bunker. That's great to have venues like that.
Yes.
Jason, and of course Laura over at Scandals. They've done a
Scandals,
great
yeah.
job.
Yes.
So
Put
I
money
have a
back
que-
into it.
I have a question about that because I don't know. Is there like a hierarchy? Like if you're 4 bands, I mean, I know there's like the main band. Is that really how it's booked like that, or?
It depends. Basically, usually, the last band is the headliner. But sometimes they might want to be the third band and get
Yes, I've
the
noticed
better
that. That's why I
slot
was
where there's more
asking. I was
people
like,
and they don't want to play late. So it just depends. I mean, if you put us on at midnight, we're going to play till 2 a.m. If you put us on at 9 o'clock, we're going to play the hardest, heaviest, tightest 30 minutes we've got. So I don't care where you put us. You know.
It's really taking a temperature of what's going on in the room,
Mhm.
what the crowd is feeling like, and that's really like playing to that, and just being able to embrace with your first, second, third, or whatever, and just being the best that you can be in the slot that you're in.
Right.
But also making it about everybody in the whole night, the other bands, and mentioning them.
So is this all of your full-time things, or?
No, we got jobs.
Yeah, unfortunately,
Got big
no.
bills.
We gotta have day jobs.
Inflation.
Yeah, we gotta have day jobs.
Good
It's,
thing.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with a day job.
yeah.
Do it.
Take it from me.
We definitely put everything back into the band so we can, for mixing and mastering on recording and, gas in the van and,
Sure.
stuff
Right.
like that. And as we start to, it all builds up. We're
Yep.
seeing a little bit more in the bank account every now and then.
Yes.
Beautiful.
That's
That's
working.
good.
It takes time, but it's been a worthy investment, and it gives us the ability to get out of the area. Like we played DC and Richmond in May. That was a great experience. We played
Okay.
at Garden Grove Brewery in Carytown, which Richmond's
Oh,
a
yeah,
great scene.
Carytown.
And in DC, we played a place called Slash Run, which is like a 70s punk bar.
It's like a rock and roll burger
Yeah.
bar.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know about it.
Yeah.
Rock and roll what?
Rock and roll burger bar. They make
Oh.
their burgers are insane.
I want to open one now.
Yeah.
Oh, let's
I mean, it's a great market for it.
Yeah,
There
that's
you go.
pretty cool.
go. That is cool.
You guys, do you ever hear a band That Which Sleeps?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so Mark Henry, their drummer, was my high school drum teacher. One of my
No way.
well, he wasn't a teacher at the school, but he
Yeah.
was the upperclassman who took me under his wing. But yeah, he plays it back to the Scandals and the kind of original music you guys are doing is in that same vein. I've seen your names in the same pool of it's like it's something that's a little bit more heavy, it's more cutting edge, it's original and heartfelt, and it's local music. I mean, it's great to see that that you can put 5 different bands on
I like that.
together. And
I do too.
Kick
I like
butt,
that. But I stay for all of it. I don't know. I'm one of those people. I'll stay for all of them. I won't just leave after whichever ones.
Oh, I always get there early because I want to see every band on a bill.
Right.
I'm not just there to see the band I know. Like, I want to see every band on the bill. That's just me.
And
That's
you're,
how I.
and you're discovering new music when you see those openers because, everybody knows the headliner, but the openers, you never know, man. I mean, like I was talking about the Cure.
Yeah.
I went and saw them at the Merriweather Pavilion Amphitheater up in Columbia, Maryland, and the openers or whatever, it was like, I guess it was the Curioso tour, and the openers was, you know, Melissa Aftermeyer, her solo project. Muse, this was back when they were first starting to get, you know, get things going with them.
That's cool.
And I saw Mogwai and I saw Interpol. And let me tell you something. Interpol back then, this is like 2003, 2004, blew my mind. I was just like,
Confetti.
it was just like, I was hooked. You know?
Right.
So it's one of those things you gotta like, you know, look into those that are like up and comers.
Yeah.
That's right.
You know,
Which is
That's
why
right.
we would, well, that's why we got, honestly, I was like, when Sandy told me about getting you guys on, I'm like, absolutely. Just, you know,
Yeah.
because
We've had people we know on so far, so you're our first, you know.
total
we don't
strangers.
know.
Nice.
Yeah, this is great. You
Uh,
know, feel like new friends.
totally.
But-
Now I want to see a show.
I know.
Yeah, now I wanna catch a
Come on,
show.
where's your instrument?
Speaking of, yeah, when is the next soonest show or
Yeah.
your show in the future? What's the closest one?
We are
People catch you at.
we're gonna be at the Rip House in South Norfolk
Okay.
Yeah.
on August 5th, and the headlining band is called Make Your Blood Dance. Is it Makes Your Blood Dance?
Makes my blood.
Makes my blood.
Makes My Blood Dance.
From New York.
Yeah, they're from New York. They're kind of like, they define themselves as being dance metal.
Okay.
Dance metal.
Yeah,
Ah.
Kind of like mindless self-indulgence.
I
You
don't
guys
know.
remember them?
it's pretty cool. And they like to put together, they call it a festival style show. So I think there's going to be like an acoustic act. There's going to be a heavier act. There's going to be a rock act. There's going to be us. There's going to be, so they, you know, like to mix it up.
Very
So
cool.
It's going to be a fun show.
So you have some people here. I don't know how to say that. Okay, can you see?
Shitty.
Do you know them?
That's my friend. That's my friend Damon.
Okay.
Okay,
So
I don't know who
they
that
said
is.
Rose.
I was
Yeah.
Like,
like,
hey.
Bang Bang.
Hey, I thought you knew who they were. Sorry.
You guys got
So-
like pretty good fan base.
I think
Pretty
so,
decent.
yeah.
That's
Pretty
good.
decent.
Yeah.
So we do have a question. So where did you come up with the name of the band? And what does it represent?
Took the words out of my mouth.
It's a
Well,
good one.
I'll try to make this quick. So I went around solo for a while. So this is around 2012, and then I tried to go out as the Pete Overstreet intersection, and people would be like, "Well, what do you have to have your name in the band?" And then
I think it's a cool name.
That's pretty
maybe later, I don't know. But
Should've never listened to that.
back then I was like listening to like the Screaming Trees, and I was like, man, I want a name now. You know, I want like Soundgarden. I want a name. And
Guys.
I was with my friends, Trisha and Gordon. I was stagehands with them, and they Gordon runs the Chrysler Hall in the Scope now. So he's been in the game for a long time.
Cool.
And they also would make little horror movies and stuff like that. So she's making this prosthetic. And we're hanging out, we're having coffee, listening to this band called The Gun Club. The Gun Club was from California. It was kind of like Johnny Cash punk rock blues music. It's really cool.
Nice.
And I said to her, I said, what is that stuff that you're putting on the mask? And she said, Spirit Gun. And I said, Spirit Gun. I was like, all right, Google. Let's see what we got. And I find out there's this cartoon called Yu Hoshiko, and the Spirit Gun is a weapon to take out the forces of darkness. And I was like, hey,
Ooh.
I wouldn't mind
There you
doing
go.
that with music.
Oh,
So
okay.
I was like, let's go with this. And that's kind of the name.
Oh, that's
you know,
great.
That's very cool.
That
yeah.
is. That
Because
is. You get lots of hearts and likes
Yeah.
on that, by the way.
Nice.
when we get on
Hearts and
stage,
likes.
we want to
Hearts
put
and
on a good show, but we also want to uplift people.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
There
And
you go.
maybe have them leave maybe a little bit better off than what they were when they came in.
Oh, that's
It's a
You know
nice.
what I
beautiful
mean?
mantra.
So
It's a
you
beautiful
become like a
Love
musical
it.
dynamo in a sense. To kind of maybe affect the environment that's already there. And then you are kind and nice, and you give out stickers, and you make friends, and you go home and you do it again.
Yeah.
Love it.
Folks, there's your
Love it.
blueprint to being successful right there. What you just
Wow.
said. Pay attention.
Well, I mean, being successful is all by definition. I mean, you know,
Right.
That's
sure,
right.
Yeah. But I like the fact you're saying being kind and shaking hands. And
a little
you know,
underrated these
you know.
days, my man. You know.
Oh,
Yeah, nobody's
Yeah.
nobody's going to our show to feel worse. Everyone's going to our show to feel better.
Actually,
You know what I mean?
they're getting healed. actually.
I like
It's, I mean, that's why
Yeah,
I go
yeah,
to
yeah,
band
yeah.
practice. You know, like I've had a crappy day. I can leave it all out there, pick up my drumsticks, and rock out with these dudes. And like, it doesn't even matter what we're doing. We're just going to do something fun. And that's what we want to bring on the stage. You know, when we get out there, yes, we want to rock, we want to annihilate, but we want to talk to people. We want to engage. We want to make them feel good.
We want to annihilate you.
Yeah.
We're going to talk
Yes,
to you.
in the best way possible.
Son.
Yeah,
You wanna meet
we're going to annihilate you, but come talk to us there.
We want to meet you first, and then we'll annihilate you and steal your food.
Sorry. So, okay, and we have another question from the audience.
Oh, cool.
What's the best advice you've been given in music, and what advice would you give to an artist or a band?
For the camera, ladies and gentlemen.
no pressure.
No pressure. Inquiring minds.
I mean, personally, we can all give one. But
Yeah,
I think,
you all
I
should.
think
I
like
would like it.
the best advice I was ever given was just like, do what fits the song. Like, you know, I can be way flashier and I can be way not flashier, but it's what the song needs, right? Like if my drum roll's stepping on his cool fill, why do I need to do it? You know, there's no point. So do what the song needs, not what your ego needs.
Sure, playing context.
Yeah.
Listen.
That's
Yeah.
great
Important.
advice.
Yeah. And
I would-
you're-
I would chime in and say that, you know, don't be afraid to carve your own path. It takes a lot of courage to do that. And, you know, that's
yeah, it's funny.
that's the real spirit of punk rock.
Yeah.
Okay.
You know, is being your own person and be willing to withstand the opposition that goes with that. You know what I mean? This is how we have creative expansion. This is how we have, you know, if we stay where it's safe, and I don't just mean technically, but just artistic decisions that we make. Like, for example, instead of playing the blues, we're going to do soul music. You know, we have soul influence in our music. Instead of like doing this one thing, we're not going to do that one thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And sometimes saying no is a bigger yes than just going with, you know, the status quo, if you will. You know,
That's the song title. Status quo.
Yeah.
there's a reason.
So,
I like it.
Yeah.
Good.
do you do any covers?
Mhm.
You do?
We do She's Not There by the Zombies.
Yeah.
At the View Music Awards in 2020, we did Hammer to Fall, which was his idea. It was a Queen song.
It was like a music of Queen thing. So I was like,
Yeah.
hey.
Okay.
And then
We got our buddy Miles to play accordion with us.
that was
on it.
interesting.
Yes.
And then since Tony's been in, we've done, I think, Running After Midnight. By
Living that.
Living that.
Living
Living That.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
then You Really Got Me by the Kinks.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Although most people like it's Van Halen.
Right.
But, you know, just something enough to be able to, like, have that interplay where it's like, okay, we know this one, we'll give your other songs a chance.
Right.
You know, so
I like it. Tony, any advice you can offer?
Yeah. I can't remember who, you know, any advice that I was given, but I can offer any advice to any musician or anybody in particular, artist, whatever. But always go with what you know. Always feel confident in what you're doing. Don't, you know, you can take advice from people and say, hey, try this, give it a try, but always know deep down what you're trying to accomplish, what you're doing. And you are the artist. You are the one that's speaking to the people. You are the one that's sharing your experiences through music or through
Right.
art.
Right.
And always have fun.
Always. And you look like you have a lot of fun on stage, by the way.
Yeah.
All you guys
Yes.
do, but
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
guy, he's,
Yeah.
but yeah, it's great because you can see the feat of energy on stage from you guys.
That's what it's all
Watch it,
about.
Yeah.
You know, it's all about, you know, just enjoying it. You know,
Yeah.
Well, our audience is asking some really awesome questions.
ask away.
Ones
I
that
love
we
this.
usually
I love
ask.
it. Thank you.
I
I
love
this.
Thank you. Yeah. Very cool.
Chitty asked, could someone explain your creative process?
Oh wow!
Like how do you, like, I was going to ask that, like when you sit down together and you're going to do rehearsal, you know, you bring in a new song or have an idea for a song. How do you guys intermingle with all that?
Kind of depends.
Yeah.
Like I mean, we can all say, but I'll write a bunch of lyrics and I'll have like a melody in my head, but I won't tell them what it is. And then I'll put it in the group chat and be like, hey, do something with this. And then usually they come up with stuff that's way cooler than I ever thought of. And then we'll just go from there.
So you'll send it like in a group chat on text, like the drawing.
Yeah. I'll just have it worked out like, different paragraphs, like this is the verse, this is chorus, this is pre-chorus, and like do something with it.
Out of the blue.
Yeah. And then they usually come up with way cooler stuff than I do.
I'm now turning that over to my band members. Watch out for my group text.
Oh,
I'm stealing that idea right there. 2 a.m. something hits me, I'm gonna send it.
Ding,
Right.
ding.
it's going all the time. Yeah. I'm always just like, cover song idea. Is this a cool album name? Is it, our group text? And then we all just put dumb
And I'm
names in
like,
there.
do
And
these
like,
guys ever sleep?
yeah.
Generally, when it comes to Oren, because I guess the way that he follows my vocal as a drummer. He doesn't follow, he follows the bass, but that's his main marker because I guess growing up with tempo music and stuff like that, right? Like,
Yeah, well, I play to the melody. So basically, like, he's always like, hey, check out this riff. I'm like, that's really cool. What's the melody? Like,
Right.
That years old drum.
it's like, where's your lyrics, where's your vocal
Yeah.
melody? And I'm like, I don't have them, we'll get one and then come back.
yeah. Or I'm just like, hum something. Give me a melody. Like, yeah, what you're doing on guitar is really cool, but I hear the melody. So, like, give me a melody, and then I'll play to that.
And then sometimes Tony will hear something and he'll be like, hey, do this.
Yeah.
And I'll go, cool. And then, we
And-
all kind of,
It's funny.
That's
Sometimes
beautiful.
Pete
Yeah.
will have like a full song and just be like, "Hey, check this out! I got this whole thing." Or he'll just have the smallest piece of a riff, and then it just like then we just jump in and balloon and
Yeah.
So that's
or
true
I could have a
synergy.
full song
That's
and
funny.
it becomes the former
Wow.
version
Yeah.
of whatever.
What it ever was.
Yeah.
Morphed into
It's coming
something
together.
Yeah, the joke was, he'd always used to make his demos on his acoustic, and I was like, that song's gonna be totally different when I start playing.
I go in the phrase, hey man, that's really cool. I said, yeah, but Oren is not in the room yet. And to tell what he was saying, go with what you know, because if you don't go with what you know, you will be discussed in the following practice with this guy.
Yeah.
Oh, and by the way, you guys actually have this thing called this rare thing, but a lot of local good bands do this. You guys have something called band practice. Really, that's amazing.
Oh,
Because,
yeah.
because in a town, I say this, I'm being facetious because in
Right,
a town of hired guns, which I'm yours truly. If I have to put together a band, I'm getting hired guns, and I go to my safe zone and pull songs. Where you guys, you're trying and pushing the boundaries of something new because you get together once a week,
Twice a week.
twice a
Twice,
week.
yeah.
Wow.
Twice a week if we can. It's preferred Tuesdays and Thursdays.
And
but,
you're actually you're woodshedding your own chops, but then you're also working on the next song idea.
Exactly.
the
That's what's
next
important.
concept.
Practice.
Last week,
Even by yourself.
we were practicing, and like you left the room. I don't know why, and then he and I were just like, he just had this cool little bass line. So I was like, oh, cool. I just started playing. And then he walked in and picked up his guitar. I guess he was listening to it, in the other room, and picked up his guitar, had a little piece. And I was just like, oh my God, this is awesome. We played for like 10, 15 minutes.
You recorded on the spot
And
there.
Tony,
I
luckily,
actually-
when we
I-
finished, Tony was like, oh, I got that, right?
Yeah, I only got 5. We were there for like 15 minutes.
We were there for like
I only got
15
5 minutes.
Yeah.
This is what happened. I got mad. And
Oh, that's right.
I got mad, and I leaned my Gretsch up against the amp, and it was feeding back.
And we'll
the
do
E.
that. Yes.
It was. I go in the kitchen, and I'm like, "Die, ego, die!" Right? And I go back in, and I hear E, G, and A, and I'm like, I'm back in, and I'm just like, just like.
I should start a song off with that feedback. I like that.
No,
Wow.
we do. We have a song called "She Sells" where we do feedback.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a big fan. I was a big fan of Fugazi.
Okay.
So really love like orchestrated feedback, and,
Yes.
and you don't hear people around here do that much. Like it's like people. I mean, people can do what they want to do, but I learned from this guy. You don't need 20,000 pedals to have a palette to work with. You've got a toggle switch, you've got a tone knob, you've got a volume knob.
3 chords in the
I
tree.
like that. Well,
That's all you need.
Some of the best
Yeah.
blues players are guys using sparse effects.
Well, I mean, like minimalism is a powerful thing.
Yeah.
When you give yourself less options, you're gonna have to dig deeper
Yeah.
in order to be able to come to something that's authentic.
Right.
I'm a strange bird. I like effects, but I do it tastefully.
Okay.
That's just the creativity, artistic side of me, I guess.
On the bass guitar, like when
Bass guitars,
yeah,
just
Neutron,
like, delay,
Delay.
make it sound like crickets.
Yeah.
Roller coaster ride when you go up. before it
What's
goes
your
down.
one where you make it go like?
Yeah.
That's the delay.
Oh, that's the delay. Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
You know.
Pull you in.
So
There.
I'm gonna have like, believe it or not, we're already at like, we're not far. We're about
this is
15, 20 minutes.
this is awesome. We've
You
just
know,
been
this is
talking
awesome.
like we've known each other for
Yeah,
years.
it's
man.
Yeah, man.
Well, let's discuss the EP that we put out last year.
Absolutely.
December.
I was gonna, go there first, and I got a couple questions.
Oh,
So
cool. Sweet.
Our friend Jeff Hewitt, he is a big staple in the Ghent community. He's a poet, musician, an artist. I found out from my friend Sarah, a comic book artist to some degree. He really championed a lot of local people in Ghent, or
Anywhere.
Anywhere, yeah.
Norfolk,
Yeah.
Virginia
Like,
Beach,
Virginia Beach,
anywhere.
especially.
I know him from Ghent. He knew him from Casablanca Cafe.
A long time ago, yeah, like over 20 years ago, 25 years ago. I remember watching him do the slam poetry there.
Oh wow. Okay, artistically.
Yeah.
And I would see Jeff at these open mic nights, and he's just kind of like, just kind of to himself kind of guy. And then he came out to one of our shows at the Tap House, and he did a review of us, and he said, this band can go toe-to-toe with any band in the area.
Wow.
And I was like, thank you, because he had seen the different Spirit Guns. He had seen me.
And he wouldn't have given that praise lightly.
Exactly.
He was a very like.
It was almost scary that he
he'd
said
be
that,
like-
yeah.
Yeah, I can't remember.
and say his name again.
Jeff
Hewitt.
Hewitt.
Shout out to Jeff Hewitt. Okay.
Yeah. And then before the pandemic, we just decided we're going to record everything that we have. We record it in the house where I live in. Oran's the landlord. Well, we rehearse there. All our base of operations are there. And then we outsource our mixing and mastering to Chris Kendrick from
Chris is a beast, man.
Yes.
Whiskey
Yes.
Bear,
yeah, from Whiskey Bear.
Whiskey Bear. Whiskey Bear Studios.
But we decided that we wouldn't have him and our friend Matt Francis come out and do some photos. And we told Jeff, hey, we're musicians, which means that we're broke. I'll make spaghetti. So I made vegan spaghetti, and I got him a case of Stella. And he came out to see us. And he hung out with us. And he photographed us. And we laughed. And we talked. And we told stories. And we didn't know that in late February that he'd be taken from us. And Oren, like around I guess, was it when, like a little bit after the pandemic, sort of, correct?
Yeah, because I think we were starting to get back together, barely, or at least talking.
Yeah.
Maybe, whatever.
And Jeff likes Early Cure. So Oren's like, hey, write me a song that sounds like The Cure, which is that whole, that in the antonym. And we wrote that song for Jeff. And we wanted to give him a love letter to how much he meant to us and how much he championed us, not just, many people, they pass and everybody gets their accolades and all that, but we felt like this had more of an eternal print on it as opposed to raise a pint and we'll go home.
Speaking of that,
Oh,
he's
that's
now
nice.
going to be eternal in this podcast.
Totally.
His name is
Yeah.
Awesome.
forever and ever.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
And that's why it's called the Antonym, because his music blog, his journal was called the Antonym. And he would, he was an awesome photographer, awesome writer. He would literally go to like 4 shows on a Saturday, take amazing pictures, do these eloquent write-ups, and have them all published by like 3 a.m. on that Saturday. And that was just typical for him.
Wow.
Yeah. And he championed everybody. If you did poetry, music, visual arts, like he was there to support you. He wanted to support everybody. So yeah, when he was gone, it was weird for me to deal with. So that's why I told him, I was like, hey, let's do a song or something, just so it
Be more
would
just
feel
in
less
the world.
weird.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Were
Amen.
you able to kind of give it to family or?
Yeah,
how-
his family was able to hear it. They were totally supportive about it. They, they're really happy for it. So, yeah.
Shout out to James Hewitt, who's Jeff's brother. He's been following everything that we've been doing. It's interesting. Most musical communities have your gatekeepers. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
But then you've got your people that are your allies, and we're thankful for people like Jeff and people that have been our allies through all this, and support system. And we try to support all the people that we know,
That's right.
By the way, speaking of that, show the camera your shirt here. By the way, it's a
Oh,
support
yeah.
live music. In case you guys
Yeah,
didn't
support
know.
live music.
That would be the
Support-
Spirit
right.
Gun guys, or live music in general, but of course, the
Yeah,
Spirit.
support live local music. I bought this in Austin like last year. But yeah, it's important to support all live music.
That's right.
All live music, any art.
Any art.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
that's what keeps human
As long as it
civilization
doesn't get you
alive.
arrested.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's why. Well, that's why we're doing this.
That's why we're doing
That's
this.
why we're doing this.
After playing.
Going to jail, I'm too pretty for prison.
Yeah. I worked in one.
I'm too here.
Yeah. So
But,
I mean, that is the goal of this whole thing, is for us to support live music and not use that's why we were so excited that we didn't know you guys. We're like, let's do this. Like, you know, and so any of you out there watching, if you want to contact us, we'll get you on here, because I mean, we're
not all about
enjoying
me
this.
and my
This is
buddies.
awesome.
Of course, I love my
Exactly,
friends, but
exactly.
still.
We have a good group of people we know in the live music community that we're friends with,
Sure.
but now y'all are friends.
Yeah,
so-
exactly. We have new
Yeah,
friends
How about
we're
that?
glad to be here too.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
with this interaction, I know we've only met each other for like not even an hour, but like it's very impactful.
You guys created a nice tone
It's
and
awesome,
a place to exist in.
Yeah.
That's right.
Thank you. That's what we wanted. That's
That's
exactly
right,
what we
exactly
wanted.
what
And
we
by the way,
wanted.
speaking of exist in, where can we find you on social media? What is your hashtags? What do you go by?
At
On the
Spirit Gun
at
Music.
Spirit Gun
There you go. Everything at Spirit
Everything.
Gun
Everything
Music.
is out
It's
there.
on- It's on the
Spirit
banner
Gun
on our
Music.
video.
Okay,
by
it's
the
on the
way.
banner.
Yes, it's on the banner. So
Repeat
Yeah.
after me,
it's
ladies
on
and gentlemen.
Our music is on all the streaming platforms as well.
Yeah, we're on all the
Yeah.
streamers. We're on all the socials. Hit us up.
All
We'll
the
hit you back.
socials.
You know, it's
Very
fine.
cool.
Talk
Just
to
don't
you.
hit me in the face.
I now know that Facebook is for the old people. My kids just told me this. I didn't know that until now. So I've always had an Instagram. So you got to be on Insta.
I think it's Thread or something else. I mean,
Oh,
that's the
now
new
there's-
one.
Oh, yeah, we're
Yeah.
on Threads. We
Twitter.
jumped
I'm still
into
trying to
Twitter.
navigate TikTok. I think I've got it under control, but now
Yeah.
Threads are great.
I like when I created our TikTok, I was like, all right, guys, we got to make a TikTok, which means we
Well,
all have to make one personally.
That's
So
right.
he made a TikTok. He's like, oh man. He's like, oh, now kind of like it.
TikTok is
Sorry.
fun. TikTok's
Took me a while.
fun.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't have to dance, by the way.
No, you can
Yeah.
learn a lot of stuff on TikTok.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe it's just my
Too
TikTok, I
much.
don't know.
Too much. You
Yeah,
could
way
be
too
on
much
there for
stuff. Oh my
hours.
God.
Like, you gotta
I
be
gotta
careful
go.
with your-
Yeah.
I mean, you know, we could
Exactly.
be one dancing kitten video away.
From
Make it
Ricardo,
big.
yeah.
I mean, you know,
It's so
you know, that was the key.
But it's so great.
Well,
Music.
you can take your TikTok and turn it into a reel on Instagram, and you can do all those things.
Reels are the best.
Reels are the
I gotta
deals.
say, reels are the best. Like I did a reel.
Reels are for real.
The
Yeah,
reels-
they are for real.
They
man.
are. The
Like,
reels are
dude,
the
Okay,
best.
so more reels.
Yeah,
More
totally.
reels,
Yeah,
yeah.
I made a reel one time where I was all sharp dressed using like
Yeah.
Curtis Mayfield, Superfly.
Oh,
yeah.
Over 1,000 views
Oh,
within like
yeah.
3
Wait,
days.
you were playing with it?
No, it was just me walking.
It was just him
you know,
strutting
just-
down the street.
just-
Yo.
yeah, just strutting down.
He was swollen like he was Lenny Kravitz.
I felt like Priest from Superfly. Man. Oh man.
You looking like Maxi Priest.
Lord.
This is good.
Well, what was the question? You said you
Well, I wanted to know, when did you start like your
Oh, yeah.
first? When did you first start as a child, teenager? And I'm going to go one by one. So when did you start? drums?
I started out as a bass player. So in like high school and stuff, I was a bass player, singer in punk bands, and then there was like a drummer drought for some reason. Like you know,
what
like,
happened.
yeah, there were no drummers, and so it was real annoying. So I was like, I can do it. So I think somewhere in maybe in my 20s, I was just like, I'll start playing drums, and then slowly did it, and then then I was in a band. We toured and stuff, and then it was really cool. And then that broke up, and I couldn't find real musicians. Like I couldn't find people who just didn't want to play to get drunk on the weekends. Like I wanted to tour. I wanted to do stuff. So I hung it up for like 6-7 years. Like didn't play, didn't do anything. And then I ran into this guy, and he was like, "You're still drumming, right?" I was like, "No." And he was like, "Well, I need a drummer." I was like, "Well, I'll come out and see what you got." And so we started jamming, and then he was like, "Oh, cool, yeah, we got a show in like 2 months. So just learn our set." So
Sorry,
yeah.
buds.
Right.
So I've been drumming ever since.
I
Again.
like that. I like
So,
that. Yeah.
I would see him on Halloween. I would go to my friend and his wife's house and be their door candy handout person because I'm the single dude,
Right.
So I would see him and I'd be like, "Hey man, you still make buttons?" I was like, "Some Spirit Gun buttons." I saw him again in the next year, and then I just randomly called him up and was like, "Yeah, I need some buttons, and can you be the drummer? How'd you like to be the drummer in Spirit Gun?" So it kind of was like that, and
Very cool.
Yeah.
Speaking of that, I think
But what about you? When did you start?
when did I start?
Mm-hmm.
Well, when I was about 18, I started singing, and I had gotten a little group together with some old friends now, and it kind of started off in my friend down the street's basement, and it was just kind of like very embryonic for me. But then I picked up guitar and I started going up by myself because I was a big Jeff Buckley fan back in the 90s, and I saw that he was just by himself in a coffee shop.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, I can do that. You know what I mean? I don't need a band right now. So I went from there and then played bass and like other bands, church bands, stuff like that. And I don't know, it just kind of grew into that,
And here's some fun trivia about him. So, I've known since the 90s. We, our friend groups intertwined and we hung out and stuff.
Okay.
When you're musicians, you jam with everybody, so
And
everybody.
you're both from here.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so, when I started jamming with him after, he saw me on Halloween, I always thought it was something weird about his guitar playing. Not that it was weird, it was just different. I liked it. And I didn't know what it was, but, we played. It wasn't until like a year or two later, I found out he's left-handed, but he plays right-handed. So he just has a slightly off thing, which is awesome. Like, it's really cool. So instead of restringing the guitar for his dominant hand,
Right.
he made his weak hand his dominant hand.
Wow,
And
that itself is
yeah.
hard.
So-
I used to teach, and I used to have to teach that way. And finally, if you ever left-handed, I taught you left-handed.
right, yeah. So that's why I think I like his guitar playing that much more, because he always just finds a cool thing to do that maybe he wouldn't do if it was the other way.
people put a lot of pressure on people to be, everybody wants you to be like them, and I feel like what makes great bands is not necessarily that they're at the top of their game, but they know each other's imperfections and they know how to take the imperfections of a good relationship and you intertwine them. And that's how you get new sounds and new ideas, is by embracing each other's little waggles.
And by the way, as a trio, you are very, you cover a lot of part, switching from rhythm to lead. I was watching some of your octave work, solo stuff, the way you blend, God's in and out of things, so you've got to be a quick thinker and mover. Of course, everybody's
I thank Kevin for getting in and getting out,
right.
because there would be the, what are you doing?
He would tend to
I want you to
mule,
think about
meander.
stopping a measure
Yeah.
before you stop. But it's been great for me because we'll see bands and I'll be like, oh man, don't go too long, man. Don't go too long. That was enough.
I
Don't
told
put so much
myself
garlic
that.
on the dish.
Right,
Yeah.
Okay, so that comes to you.
Yes.
Are you from here?
Not originally. Originally from California, Southern California.
West Coast in the house.
West Coast, gotta represent, dude. But I grew up in the military. So I actually grew up in Virginia Beach as well. So we growing up, moving back and forth. Luckily, it was just Southern California, Virginia Beach. Southern California, Virginia Beach. Nothing else. Thank
Beach,
God.
beach.
But originally from Long Beach, lived in San Diego, but grew up in Virginia Beach. Where's my Salem people out? Salem High alumni, what's up, bro?
High School.
Yeah, gotta represent.
Right.
But I've always wanted to play guitar or be a musician ever since I was 3. And to show my age, Purple Rain came out, and I wanted to do what Prince was doing. And then it kind of changed because, like, my dad took me on a Tiger Cruise on a big giant aircraft carrier, and then I wanted to be an aircraft carrier captain. But then that kind of slightly changed again. So in the early 90s, maybe late 80s, my brother was doing hip hop. He was like a teenager, and he would freestyle, and he would be like, he'd barge in my room and say, "Hey, come here." And I was about maybe like 8 or 9 at the time, and shout out to my brother Hermanos, and this is for you. He would like play this part on the keyboard, just one key. And I'd be like, whatever, it's my brother, I want to be around this guy. And I would just play one key, and he would just
stop.
flow,
Okay.
like it was nothing. And so that was my first experience, but I didn't really become a full-on musician until a few years later, when I went to my middle school orchestra band. My mom was like, "Let's get you in the orchestra, and what instrument you want?" And my mother taught me how to play bass twice.
Wow.
Yes. Sorry, Mom.
But stand-up bass, right? It was like a double bass, yeah.
And she looked at the price. She was like, "Hey, you play violin." So I was like, "All right." So I played violin for about half a year, maybe a year, I guess. And then I took a break from music for a while, And then I started hanging out with these guys. I was about 13, and I was skateboarding, and they were like, I was hanging out with these guys, and actually one of them I started my first band with, and he was a bass player. I was kind of giving him the bass, and again, my mom taught me how to play bass. She's like, "How does you play guitar?" I was like, "All right, cool." I learned how to play guitar. Then I taught myself how to play bass, and then in the midst of all that, I taught myself how to play drums. I'm a bad
Rebel.
child.
You
No,
rebel.
But
Yeah.
that's not that. Music's always been a part of
Timing
my
is everything. I mean, you got to
Yeah.
think about it. I mean, I always said the biggest myth in the room is the drummer is the timekeeper, right?
Yeah.
Which, to a degree, of course, is true, but everybody's responsibility is timing.
Yeah.
And I remember the drummer drum. That's why I taught myself how to play drums.
Yeah.
It was like the late, or no, it was like mid '90s actually, with the drummer
Yeah,
drums. Like,
yeah.
I mean, drums wasn't glamorous because then you got to like provide the house, you could be the drummer.
Yeah.
This is
It was
it's
expensive.
expensive.
Lugging them around.
Yeah.
Lugging around.
You don't get chicks.
It's like that meme where it's like
Always
what
a
you
big
think.
one.
It shows like all the silhouettes of women, and the reality it's like the drummer with like 50 cats.
Oh wait, I think
I
that's
like
a bass
that.
player. I think that was a bass. No,
Whatever, it's
they switch it up.
interchangeable.
Yeah, it's interchangeable.
The guitar players get the typical, I hate to say it, we get, the cliches,
Well, what does it say about those that are multi-talented?
Thank you for musicians.
Yeah, like,
Guitar's just the
do we get all the women and all
Yeah.
the cats and
Well, the cool thing about Tony too is
I have all the
he's,
women, I have all the cats.
I win.
I gotta pay all the bills.
Tony's an awesome
On
musical
the girls'
resource.
end, you're like, you don't want the drummer because you pay all the bills. Anyway,
Jen always hears what we don't hear.
I'm just kidding.
Yeah. It's cool. I'm secure in my drum. But yeah, it's awesome. Tony plays drums. He plays guitar because I could just be like, yeah, be like, and like he'll be like, yeah, that's a C G. That's he'll just like call out what it is because he knew what key we're in the song. Or like I'm overthinking a drum part. He's like, no, dude, just do it like this. I'm like, oh god, it's so simple. I missed it. So it's
So
cool.
everybody takes their hand in music directing.
Pretty much.
Oh,
Which is
yeah.
the best part about
Yeah,
it.
no one's precious about anything. Like,
Right,
they can tell me my parts suck. I can tell him his parts suck, or I can be like, hey, slow that down and change it. And he won't be like, oh, screw you. He's like, okay, maybe.
Try something with this
Yeah.
vocal or this and that.
The worst that can happen is that we record it, we listen to it, and we go, okay, let's try your way. You know what I mean? That's
Right.
the beauty of it.
Very democratic.
That's
man. It's
true.
very,
That's very good.
Well, I wouldn't say democratic, I would say necessary, because ego can destroy a lot of stuff.
Amen.
True.
I've always wanted to be in a band, and that means like it's a third of everything. If I wanted to be me and some other guys, it would be me and some other guys, and it would sound like my songs, and that's boring. I don't want that. I
It's
want
a good band name though.
yeah, me and some other guys. Yeah,
Well, so
trademark.
you're born on the other
But I want to be in a band.
It's Oren,
Yeah.
and the other guy.
Yeah.
Fast.
This is other Tony. This is other Pete. Yeah. So, I want to be in a band. So if they're like, no, you're totally off, dude. Your thing sucks. I'm like, okay, cool. Let's work on it.
So all of your names just have 4, letters of that. That's,
Oh, yeah.
that's
Yeah.
synergy.
I never even thought
I never thought. My real name is Anthony, but I go by Tony.
Yeah.
And I could be a Peter.
Yeah. Well,
Sorry.
No.
Yeah.
Fraud.
Sorry, Brian, you can't be in there, man.
Or
You
it's
got
not.
one word, one more syllable. Sorry. Too many syllables.
That's a perfect comeback for people always like, hey, you guys are the second guitar player. Is your name have 4 letters?
Yeah.
Get out of here.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Jebediah, but we don't have an opening
We don't
right
have room for you.
We're a 3-piece band with 4 letters in our names.
Yeah.
Get out of here. 3-4, leave.
now. Yeah, short my name. It's too late. Man. So,
Well, there's a Raul that just joined. He could
That's
be
what
That's our homie.
Oh.
shout out to Raul Perez.
He's got
Saxo
more
beat,
letters.
bro.
He's got more letters.
Ra-
Just
well,
saying.
Raul
Our boy here.
it has guested on a track that hasn't
Yeah.
come out yet, but he's a baritone sax player and he is a
See?
beast.
Oh, he is
dude.
New York.
I
Yeah.
That's our
already,
guy.
see, I already
Okay.
had the vibe. I did.
All right, that's the fourth
That's Raul.
Raul has.
The name itself.
I've had Raul crash at the house, and he will play the piano into the night. Beautiful jazz piano
Oh my god.
echoing through the house. It's pretty cool.
It
Wow.
doesn't suck. That's nice.
He's
Yes.
our brother, man. He's our
Very
brother.
cool.
Yeah.
I gotta throw a mic on him. Remember in the band? There was a band in the '90s called Morphine.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah.
yeah,
Oh,
Pure
don't get
Fat.
him
Oh,
started.
man.
Our
Oh, man.
friend, shout out
Bruh.
to Susan Birchwell. She thinks that we do morphine type stuff because we're all kind of like lower end. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We're not afraid of the men in trouble end of things. And I just think it sounds rich. But that was another reason why I was excited about having Raul guest star because the first thing I said, hey, you ever had morphine? No. I'm like, here.
Listen to this.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, and that was basically the trio was sax, bass,
And slide bass.
Yep.
slide bass,
Two-string bass.
yeah,
Two-string slide bass.
Yeah.
and drums, and that was it. My friend
Yeah.
Steve Forrest saw him live at a Bonnaroo or something. And
It was
just that's what he
different.
sounded local.
Think
Yeah.
about it, you know?
Yeah.
He had a band before that called Treater Wright, where he played guitar with an octave pedal. It was a guy that played a cocktail drum kit, kind of like a Dexter Romweber's
Mhm.
drummer, and harmonica, guitar, and drums. And they would set up in like those Boston bars, like in the Middle East, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Reason
in the Middle East, and like it's just amazing. And I think what happened was they went on the road with Los Lobos, and the sax player that ended up being the sax player in Morphine was their roadie, and he just started getting up on stage with them, and then Treater Wright broke up, and they just immediately went right into Morphine, which I thought was pretty cool.
Raul, bring your sax. Get up on stage. Oh no, I'm sorry. I shouldn't do that.
No, but
Baritone.
Raul was even.
Oh, no, he's jamming with us
He
on
said,
stage.
"Oh yeah."
He's
He's
got
told
4
him.
letters. He's
Yeah.
got 4 letters.
Yes,
He's
he's-
all right.
Saxo beat, bro.
He's all right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting. Anyway, that's great to see. Great to see support
Wow.
like
Wow. So we're almost out of time, but we would like to, we got 3 whole minutes
that. Okay.
left. And so I would love you guys just to
Fine.
promote, like you said, August 5th at
Yes.
Riff House, correct?
Yep.
So what time does it start?
Doors are at I think 6.
Maybe 7 or 8.
I thought, no,
We should know
I think it was. I think it's 6 because like
Seven.
it's
Right, maybe because it's more bands.
more
Yeah.
bands.
Yeah.
You know, you gotta, Kim and Danny
Right.
don't want to be out there too late.
Oh,
We
yeah.
have tickets available. They can be purchased directly through us.
So it's a ticketed event.
Yes, it
Yeah.
is.
Yes,
Oh,
It's
okay.
tickets, and if you buy from us, you save the service fees and stuff. So
All right.
Buy your tickets
See
to
hit us
that.
up.
that?
Yep.
$10,
Save
man.
some.
There's
some
worse
money.
things you could spend $10.
Amen. I've spent $10 on worse things.
So if you were to give the gift of music to people, what type of gift would that be? Like what is it that you want to accomplish with this project?
If somebody is in the audience and some dream crusher came along and told them they could not sing, or they couldn't paint, or they couldn't play an instrument, it'd be cool to quote a songwriter by the name of John Mark McMillan. We go to the graveyard of broken dreams, and tonight we dig up the graves. And I think that's what we want to do for
Like that.
people is ignite a fire in other people, because music's a powerful language. It's a prophetic language, and it can change. It can at least change the environment where we're at. Especially, people are always like, "Oh, times are hard." Times have always been hard, but it's the art that moves people forward. Man.
Absolutely.
That's the thing.
This is why guys like me everyone gets hired at what they do. At a club where somebody wants that environment, you help
Right.
nurture that environment,
Yeah.
build that environment, and let it be a message of love always. I mean, or something
Yeah.
positive.
Totally.
You know,
Because
yeah.
it's, we're not against anybody. We're for everybody. We're not against the other bands on the bill. We want to play with them. We want everyone to succeed. We promote our friends' bands. We promote, we're for everybody. It should be a positive thing. If I want to be negative and nasty, I should be a politician or something. You know what I mean? Like,
Yes.
I don't want to be. I want to be
No.
positive and be,
That's
Vote
because
for me.
and that's what I'm in it for, is because I think internally I always go to the negative first, so I have to work at not doing that, and I think music helps me do that. So if I can give that to someone else,
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
Oh,
Why not?
It's a language.
Yeah, it is, and it's about
Yeah.
community too. It's and like I said earlier, it's healing. I mean, what we do, we tune our guitars. Spoiler alert, to 432 hertz.
Yes.
It is actually a natural tuning. They say it's a God tuning. It's a natural tuning. It's a natural frequency. It's easy.
Flat.
Yes, for E flat where you go over
Yeah,
the
right,
door, but it's actually easy listening to. You can actually sing better.
Yes.
That's what we do. We want to heal everybody. We want everybody to feel good. It's like going to a massage therapy. That's what we're doing.
That's right.
It's weird because it seems like 440 kind of does this,
Mm-hmm.
or 432 does this.
Mhm.
And the beauty about punk rock is the fact that it's not about being perfect. It's about being yourself.
Mm.
Because if people feel, that's why I feel like American Idol and stuff like that, it kind of ruined rock and roll, because then people feel like music is about showing off or who's the king of the mountain. And instead, being able to love who they are, imperfections, artistically and all.
I was like, Dave Grohl said something about shows like that. How it's you go out in the garage and suffer for years.
Yeah.
The shows like that. Yeah. Anyway, are we rounding out the
Yeah, we're
time
rounding
here?
it out. Any
Any
closing
last minute?
remarks?
Any
closing
last
questions?
minute? Check out their music on Spotify or all the streaming platforms. By the way, Spirit Gun.
But you have a video. A new
Yes, we
video.
do. And thank you, Dan Aguilar, for being a great individual and a brother,
Yeah.
and always treating
Yeah.
us like we're
It's always
family.
positive.
Yeah. And thank you, T, for the haircut for today. She's watching as well.
So when are you releasing this video?
Well, we've got a couple actually. So we've got the Betty Page live video we did at Scandals. That will probably be in a week or two, and then we also have some other cool videos we did in Richmond at Got Sound Studios. So we're going to be releasing. We haven't even really said much about those yet. So
Yeah.
they're
Spoiler
done. They're
alert.
really cool.
Spoiler.
Yeah,
We're going to be
first.
releasing those pretty soon too. So yeah, so just check our socials. We always post
we're always
stuff. We
there.
got stuff.
Well, I know that I'm going to try to make your show because I'm pretty excited to have met you guys.
Yeah, I am too. I'm
And
very excited.
I know. So I
Yeah,
will definitely
I am
be
too.
coming out. It's not usually my genre, but you sound like you're in my genre. I like the blues, soul, like all the
Just
things.
listen to your music.
I'm just not.
first
I thought you
minute.
guys were hard, like metal at first, and then I was like,
Yeah, I mean,
then I started listening. I was like, no, they're not.
Yeah.
They're like rock, like.
I kind of like to say, I told someone, it's like, I want our band to be like, it's a Hallmark Hall of Fame movie that's directed by Quentin Tarantino.
Wow.
So it's like, you got a grandmother in the kitchen, she's got cocoa, but then she's got, I don't know, a baseball bat,
Yeah.
I don't
Or
know.
it's like an episode of Black Mirror.
It's kind of like, we want to do those edgy things, but we don't want to be predictable with it. We kind of want to sing you a soul song, but then do something else.
or he'll
Christmas
play
sound
like a
like
heavy riff and like he's singing happy stuff.
Yeah,
on
it's
it.
like Christmas
Yeah,
at
it's
Hunter
just-
S.
it's just
Thompson's
what it
house
is.
or something.
Well, all right. Well, thank you guys so much
got a blast.
for coming in for this interview and for
Yeah,
thanks for having us. This was
band.
awesome.
Or
And, yeah, love it. So you gave a lot of good information, and I just love your positivity. It's amazing. So,
yeah,
Anything
Sandy.
you have
No. Shout out to
all
my
right.
co-host Sandy Archer for being back here in the house,
Yeah.
and Jacob, of course, Critical Computers.
Brian Dunn, of course.
Thank you, Jay.
Thank you.
Jacob.
Yes, and we'll see you again. And thanks for tuning in. And tell your friends. Also, we want to get some buttons made. I think we need scene buttons or something.
Yeah,
right?
we're gonna
Go
do
ahead.
something.
Yeah, I'll-
Yeah.
I don't
All
know.
right. So yeah, we're at Back Bay Beach House Brew House. Come out here. They're drinking some things. I'm not. I have coffee. I know it looks like it's beer, but
West Coast
Coffee.
IPA.
coffee. Some of us are coffee. Some of us are beer. That's how it
Gotta
goes.
get the edge off.
So come out and taste their stuff downstairs. All right. Thank you guys.
Thank you.
Have a wonderful Monday
Good
night.
night.
Good night.